been changing really, really quickly over the last week. So we want to talk about what you can do now. The main questions and concerns that we have seen from our clients over the last week. And then we'll probably get into some strategy as well. Like I said, the situation has been fluid, so this conversation will probably be pretty fluid as well. And if you do have some questions and you don't mind sending those in through chat, that would be great. And we'll let the guys know what your questions are. But we highly encourage you to let us know what questions you have, because we just want to make sure that you're getting out of this exactly what you need to. We want to make sure that you leave this feeling really prepared and really well informed. So with that, I will turn it over to Brad.
Hey everyone, thanks for taking time with us this morning. As Callie noted, we had plans for a different webinar, but I think like everyone it's weird to say, on the entire globe at this point, we're making adjustments to how we work, what our topics are, what our priorities are, what work we can complete and what work we have to maybe defer. So like each of you, we're all making business decisions based on the information as it streams in by the minute. So Derek and I wanted to take a step back. I wanted to be on as well to acknowledge some of the broader questions that we've been getting from clients. But as Callie noted, really this is about what you guys are going through and the questions that maybe you have at the ready. So if there are questions, please do put them in. We do have stuff that we could certainly talk about for an hour or more, but we also, if there are questions that are coming from each of you, we'd love to entertain those. And so just giving a little background, I think every client right now has rightfully reached out, and we're having many conversations across our client base. They're all taking different shapes and sizes, but obviously the common theme is how do we keep our operations going? How do we keep conducting business in a new normal that is both remote, it is isolated, it is very, very specific in terms of the work we're doing. And I wanted to acknowledge that every client's coming at this almost with a unique use case. We have a lot of clients as a big Microsoft partner. We have a lot of clients that are heavily invested in Microsoft's ecosystem, and to the point where Derek leads an entire practice for us focused on the modern workplace and how we view remote work. But we also have clients that are less invested in that platform, or maybe they are on the journey but haven't really gotten there from an adoption standpoint. And we have other clients that have a different stack of technology altogether. So every conversation, even clients with common threads, has taken on a little bit of a unique shape and a unique size. And what our core focus has been, in addition to our operations teams making sure that they are prepared for anything and everything, and that we're able to keep up support, is the advisement of clients as to how do we keep working. And there has been really no one size fits all. We've set up some separate accommodations for clients that don't have the tools at their disposal, that may be a largely desktop based environment, that are having to make a decision of, do you have somebody take a desktop computer home that's really not meant to be mobile? And so we've really only drawn one really hard line in terms of our guidance to clients, and that is that we really don't advocate for putting VPN software on non-company owned machines. And it's largely the premise of that, and the background of that is it's a pretty significant security concern when you are putting VPN software on a computer that the company does not own, does not protect, does not manage in the same way that we do all of the other assets that are in your fleet. So the obvious is we don't have common antivirus, we don't have patch management. That computer that you are bringing from your house, it may be the PC that your kids do homework on, or teenagers browse the web and do whatever it is that teenagers do these days. So for us, we have really tried to guide and encourage clients not to open up their their corporate business networks to personal devices in the way of VPN. In lieu of that, we are working with a couple of remote software platforms that are, month-to-month contracts where there's not a long-term implementation, or we don't have to fundamentally change the network in order to accommodate, but still gives people the ability to work on their desktop computer in the office if they need to remotely. So again, we are finding ways through this, regardless of what the existing situation is. And I think whether a client, has made those investments in laptops and mobile workstations, which we have always strongly encouraged, or again, we're dealing with desktops, we have ways to accommodate those things. So I think broadly speaking, we want to talk through how we're using tools and some of the other themes that we're trying to hit on. And as questions come up, please ask those of Derek and I, and we'll include them in our conversation today. Derek, do you want to take the next?
Sure. Thanks, Brad. So really, let's take a quick poll real quick in the chat. And again, if nobody knows how to use the chat, again, in the meeting, if you go down, there's a little chat bubble. You click on that, you can type a message. But if you wouldn't mind sounding off and just kind of let us know where you guys are at. Understand, are you guys, do most of your organizations, do they support working from home today? Is this a new experience for you? Is this something you've toyed around with in the past? Do you guys have the infrastructure to support it? Do you guys have laptops? Do you guys have desktops? What are your concerns? What are the challenges you're having right now? I'd like to really kind of get a poll, get a pulse of the room to kind of understand what your challenges are so we can best address those. So I see, Shannon, I see that you posted in there, you said you're supporting and encouraging work from home. That's great. And again, Beth, I see you said you're remote for the next 2 weeks at least. So obviously you have the ability to do so. So that's great. I'm glad that you guys are already past that first hurdle, which is, again, do we have the ability to even to go remotely? See, Mark, all of our employees have laptops and are working remotely. One challenge is people knowing how to share screens and other technical issues. So yeah, so that's a great point. So again, some people have the technology, they're able to let people work remotely. And again, the kind of the layers of the different applications that people use. Again, if you talk about putting your email in the cloud first, possibly, then maybe your files in the cloud or your other line of business systems, those are kind of the steps to getting ready for this transition. But yeah, like Mark makes a great point. Some people just, they can do their work, they can check their emails, they can have, they can do what they need to do, but there's some things that maybe people haven't utilized or haven't done before that's causing them issues. So it's a great point. So Jamie, mixed with people work from home, but largely work in the office, encouraging people to work from home. Let's see, Mark, one person had issues with Wi-Fi kicking off and on a new router, is ordering a new router. That's great too. So one of the things that I want to do is after we wrap our discussion up today, I've got a great set of links that I've tried to provide value for anybody in the conversation, anybody from the IT director of an organization to just an end user that's going to be working from home and how to best set up their own personal experience at home. So I will be providing that at the end of the meeting here. So just stay tuned for that. Let's see, all of our employees are laptops working from home. So it seems like a pretty good sampling of you guys are already either supporting work from home or have the technology in place from working from home. So that's great to know. And again, we just wanted to understand where you guys were so we could meet you there. So Brad, did you want to talk a little bit about for the few people on the phone that don't have something in place, for again, those people that have desktops in place, or they have line of business systems that cannot be accessed remotely, or file shares that cannot be accessed remotely, what are some good solutions on how they can, like a quick fix on how they can get working remote as quickly as possible?
Yeah, so we put our heads together last week as client requests kept coming in, and tried to come up with what's the lowest friction, again, changing from desktop-based environment where mobility was never really needed for one reason or another, to having the reality of people having to work from their houses or wherever they're at in quarantine. The scenario that we're encouraging, again, to avoid end user devices being on VPN, if the need is for a user to continue working on a desktop that resides in their office, and Bill with Guidon had hit on this, they're using LogMeIn for folks with desktops. So we have encouraged clients that have an investment of LogMeIn, or the platform that we have encouraged, just because it's available on a monthly basis, is GoToMeeting, which is owned by the same people. GoToMyPC, which is owned by the same people as LogMeIn, and those are just remote access tools that you can assign user permissions, put a client on the desktop that sits at the office, and then have the user remote into that desktop and continue using that machine just like they would otherwise. The benefits of that platform really, though, are as opposed to a VPN, which is putting your home PC on your business network, GoToMeeting or GoToMyPC rather, LogMeIn, TeamViewer would be another one. Those platforms do not basically tunnel your traffic from your home device. It doesn't present the same security risk, but it does give you that same benefit. So if you can't get the desktop to the person's location, you need to bring the person's basically you have to connect the dots there. And so we've been advocating for GoToMyPC, but you could interchange that with LogMeIn or TeamViewer if the client doesn't already have something in place.
That's a great suggestion. So a couple other things that came through in the chat here. So there was a question about what do we recommend as far as what video conferencing system. So as an MSP, we obviously support whatever our customers have. So again, we have customers with Google Hangouts, we have customers that use Zoom, GoToMeeting, WebEx, all those different solutions. But again, being the director of Microsoft Solutions Practice, I'm heavily invested in and recommend Microsoft Teams for a lot of different reasons. Number one, because most of our clients are typically have an Office 365 license, and Office 365 includes the Teams standard Teams license within it. So again, it's a great solution. And again, I don't want to go too much into Teams and all the different the value that it can add. But again, that would be a follow-up thing, is if we want to have a conversation afterwards, I can definitely talk to any individuals one-on-one about, again, kind of the value of Teams as the hub for teamwork, and kind of how it can help support more of a modern workplace that does include a disconnected workforce that is either remote or can be geographically spread out. But great question. Let's see here. So we talked about kind of like, again, what's a quick solution for things. Let's talk a little bit more about the long-term strategy. And I know that's tough for people right now because we're in the thick of it, but it seems like a lot of people are on that forefront of able to utilize the tools that they have in place to work remotely today. Again, our long-term strategy, at least from my perspective, being in the director of Microsoft practice, is again kind of a Microsoft-centric look at it. And it's not just because again we're Microsoft partners, but again I think it's a very robust solution when you look at the entire Office 365 / Microsoft 365 SKU, or the license. It provides a very comprehensive license that accommodates everything from personal device management all the way up to again, email in the cloud, having meetings, having your files stored in the cloud and protected and governed by Office 365. So again, it's a great solution for that. So if you haven't gone down that path, or you're part the way down that path, part of the thing that we do is part of my job is we enforce this concept of the modern workplace, that we enable our customers and help them understand the value of all these different tools, and then we help them utilize them and make sure that they fit in with our customers' process. So again, a great a little plug for our practice and kind of how we do things. But again, we support whatever our customers have. So again, if you utilize Teams if you utilize Zoom or Google or any of the other tools, we can definitely support that as well as an MSP. So good question there.
Derek, I wanted to follow on one of your concepts too, is I think going into again, I'll keep calling it the new normal, but I think for us, the big uncertainty is there are things that we need to rush. There are things that, okay, having your people out of the office immediately or in a day or 24 hours or even 48 hours, there is an immediate need for certain pieces of the puzzle to be worked out very, very quickly. And we're trying to make sure we do that. But there's also a longer term or more moderate term. None of us know how long this is going to go on. So even at the short end of 6 to 8 weeks, which is I think all the guidance we have to go on, there are things where, maybe the immediate, the first short term technology that we utilize or some of the accommodations that we make are right, but we also have to be considering the more moderate term and our longer term productivity as well. And I'm not talking about, in 2021, I'm talking about, again, as this kind of lingers, how do we make sure that for the next 6 to 8 weeks that we're taking advantage of those things as well? So if we can separate out, the immediate and then also the very important things that we need to incorporate, some of these things, for us, a lot of these solutions are really, really great. But for a client that's just starting out and has never touched Microsoft Teams and is just trying to figure it out, that could be a 3-month process with all the buy-in and every stakeholder being engaged under normal circumstances for us to roll that out the right way, and making sure that we're taking all of those pieces into consideration. Obviously, we don't have that kind of time to make any of these changes. And again, some clients are further down the path than others. But I want to make sure that we're also, taking advantage of those tools and setting up the medium term as well. I want to call out, so Shannon, thank you for your comment below in terms of Teams not being an option. So just like Zoom or GoToMeeting or any of those things, Teams will allow guests into the meeting with only a browser. It's fully functioning in most modern browsers, like Chrome and other things. So it is getting a little feedback here. But it is a fully functioning web management platform where all the features are fully enabled. Can we make sure that if you just hopped on the call that, yeah, everybody's muted? It sounds better already. So thank you. Ashley's question about scanning from home. So Office Lens is a Microsoft product. Derek can go into that. I'll throw out a personal favorite of mine. There's an app in I think both iOS and Android app stores called Scanner Pro, which I have used in place of any flatbed scanner, multifunction device that we used to have in our house. And it scans not just, if you have to scan a document to send it to somebody or put a signature on something and scan it back, it actually handles quick scanning, multiple pages, collates them all together. So you ultimately have one PDF you can export to a number of different platforms or straight to email. And so I'll put a link to the iOS app. Derek, do you want to elaborate on Microsoft Lens or anything else that's in that stack?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw this up on the screen here. Actually, my Office Lens was one of my favorite tools. It's been out for a little while now. Fantastic application, especially for again, if you need to do any sort of scanning on the go. I love it for my expense report receipts. So again, whenever I go on a trip, I can just take that receipt sitting at the table right after my meal. I can hit the button, it scans it. The nice thing is, if you notice in this screenshot here, it actually takes it. It can take it at any angle, any lighting, and it'll skew it appropriately, so it makes it look perfectly in the application. So it looks like it was scanned on a flatbed scanner. It's a little bit of magic. I love showing that off in some of my customer engagements. Also note that this functionality has been rolled into the OneDrive mobile application. So again, if you have OneDrive for Business installed as part of your Office 365 entitlements, you can use this on your phone And right inside that OneDrive application, you can actually use this functionality. You can scan it, and it'll save it directly to your OneDrive. So that's specifically how I use it for my expense reports. But it works great for other stuff too. We'll use it for personally. We use it for like my kids' schoolwork when it comes home. If I need to scan something real quick, I'll take a picture of it. Another huge thing for work is it does great with whiteboards. So let's say you're at home working, and you have a whiteboard on your wall, and you're doing some notes at home. And again, nobody else can see that because you're just working in your home office. You can actually take a screenshot of that whiteboard with this application. And again, as you see on this picture, this is trying to showcase, they took it from a bad angle with kind of bad lighting, and it actually like cleans it up and makes it look perfectly flat. So again, a super awesome tool, regardless of the situation we're in today. I highly recommend either Office Lens or using the feature within the Office or the OneDrive application. So yep, great call out there. There was another question. Let me get back into the chat here real quick.
I'll elaborate a little bit on Ryan's question about some of the differences with Hangouts, Teams, Zoom. Zoom is a really great platform, and I think it's really the behemoth of standalone meetings right now. They have built a really compelling platform. It's really full featured. It has a couple of unique things about a single channel. So we have no issues and really not a lot bad to say about Zoom being a platform for virtual meetings. For us, the reason we don't recommend it more is because we like the integration of the way Teams has built all of these functions together. So as opposed to being a standalone tool, Teams obviously is the hub from a chat perspective and everything else. And it really just integrates nicely into the flow of how most of our users are already working to begin with. So I think Zoom is really, really great. Hangouts is totally fine. If you are in a Google heavy world, there's Hangouts, and then there's Google Voice for Business. All of those platforms can work really well. We deal with it a lot less. I guess just if I can opine a little bit, I think Google has some really great tools that have to some extent not continued the development pace that they were so great on early on. They were really trendsetters in a lot of I'll call it modern workplace technologies, but I also think that as things have moved forward, a lot of their tools have not grown a whole lot over time. So that's just, again, more my personal opinion, but really anything that is at your client's fingertips and part of the tools that they already have. If you are G Suite, Hangouts makes sense from that perspective. There's also GoToMeeting is a really great platform that had been really widely adopted in the past. It's also standalone, which is to me the only real downside. And we probably deal with WebEx a lot less across our general client base. Again, just because we're seeing so many other people take advantage of the Microsoft tools and jump to Zoom as well.
No, that's a great point. Actually, I saw your comment in there. So you're talking about the whiteboard functionality, and we did mention whiteboard whenever I was talking about the Office Lens. Within the Office 365 suite, there is a tool called Whiteboard. It's one of those things that kind of was released with not a lot of fanfare. So unless you're pretty much on the cutting edge or you're looking for the new tools, you may not be aware of it. But one of the interesting things is it's not super easy to find either. So again, if you're using Teams for a Teams meeting like we are right now, I'll actually show it to you real quick. So it's actually hidden under the sharing menu. So I'm going to stop sharing of the screen that you guys are seeing right now. And I'm going to go back to the sharing menu. And on the bottom right-hand corner, I can't show you this because I'm not sharing at the moment, but there should be an icon for the Microsoft Whiteboard. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to load up this whiteboard. Now, the cool thing is that this whiteboard actually spans across everybody in the meeting. So everybody in the meeting can see this whiteboard, can work with it, and can collaborate on it. And it's loading up right now. And once it gets loaded, if you have a device like a Surface or some other touchscreen type device where you can use a pen to draw on it, it obviously can make it a much better experience. But for now, we can actually just use our mouse and kind of doodle and do some things. So it is loading. It's having a problem right now. Let me see if I can get it to go forward. One more time here. We'll see. So I do know, and again, Microsoft has been very transparent. I mean, obviously there's massive load on both the just internet or also on the Teams platform, as well as all the other platforms right now, because the entire world is testing out this model. So again, there are some expectations that things may not work exactly perfectly right out of the gate. So I'm going to try this one more time and see if it loads up. If it doesn't load, I encourage you to try it. If you have Teams and you do Teams meetings, I encourage you to try. Okay, it's not going to let me do it right now, so I apologize for that. But yeah, really cool stuff. The nice thing about the whiteboard too is that, again, you can draw on it, you can write on it, you can do whatever you want, and then at the end of the meeting, you can actually just send that out to the attendees, and it'll just send us a picture of that whiteboard to everybody in the meeting. So let's see here. There's a great question from Shannon about addressing Teams use for non-365 users. So this is one of the things that I really appreciate about the Teams platform. So again, if I'm working in an organization, so Brad and I are in an organization and we are having a Teams meeting, and again, we're sending this out as this webinar, for example, I can send this meeting out. I don't have to worry about anybody else out there that may or may not have the client, because again, if you don't have if you don't have Office 365 or you don't utilize Teams, it's going to come through and it's going to say, hey, why don't you just join it in the web? And the key differentiator here between this and some of the other platforms is you don't have to download any sort of installation or anything to run before you start that meeting. So again, I've worked in large organizations that they've had their workstations locked down very heavily, and you couldn't install anything on the desktop or anywhere. So it would not allow you to install those clients, those WebEx clients, those Cisco clients. So the nice thing about this is you can invite people and be certain that they can join that meeting, and they can join it either via their computer or they can join it via the phone if you have the audio conferencing capabilities turned on. So the bottom line is it works great for people externally that you don't really have to worry about them having it or not having it on their side of in their environment. So great question.
Derek, I want to key in on one of those pieces. So, so Teams meetings are included in most 365 holistic subscriptions. So for most of our clients, Teams is inherent to part of that. There's one key limitation for clients if we have not more broadly rolled this out, and that is, as part of that standard subscription, you can have Teams meetings where, again, you get the link to join the meeting online. You can do that internal and external to the organization. But if you want the audio call bridge, the dial-in number to show up on your Teams meetings, there is a separate Microsoft license for that. It's the audio conferencing SKU, and it costs $4 a user a month. It can be applied to just individual users, but so it doesn't have to be applied globally. But that's what makes that dial-in number become available. So that, again, can be added to any, you don't have to have phone system or any of the other features of Teams, but that is one thing that is an elevated SKU, if you will. Shannon brought up browser preference for Chrome absolutely seems to be the most fully functional browser for guests to join. So that would be the encouragement. Edge is now, the new Microsoft Edge browser is now based on a Chrome platform. So that you're probably going to see more cross compatibility there. But if people are asking you which browser, or if you're having issues, I would always encourage them to use Chrome. Yep,
I totally agree. And there was a comment made about one thing you've noticed. This is from Jamie. One thing you've noticed is that you can't give control of the screen share with external users. And there are some little nuances there. So let me take a step back and talk a little bit about Teams history and where we're at today. So again, Teams is a relatively new platform. It's been around since about 2017. And I'll be completely honest. I am a Microsoft pays my bills. However, I'm not. I will tell you how it is. So again, I don't know if the Teams platform has really reached maturity up until the last probably year and a half. But since then, it's been what I would consider rock solid. So there are some quirks now and then, but in order to get where they were that fast from 2017 to then, what they did was there's some capabilities that they rolled in from other platforms. Like again, they're deprecating Skype. Skype's going away, so Teams is taking over the chat functionality and the online meetings functionality. It's also adding new functionality as well that didn't exist before. So in order to do that rapid development, they basically had to say, we got to pick what's important to start out with, and then we're going to roll out features as we go. So the Teams platform, again, the whole Office 365 platform is constantly rolling out updates. And there's some great links to go out there and see how things are being rolled out. But one that kind of seems to elude a lot of people that I wanted to share with you guys today, that I like to share with a lot of my clients, is user voice. And user voice is the place where it's before the stuff gets released and before they roll out the new things, it's the place where people go and suggest new things. Again, and that'd be a perfect example of something that would go to user voice and say, hey, I'm expecting it to behave this way, or this is something that I need. Can we please get this implemented? So I'm going to bring this link over on the screen over here. And again, this is the user voice for Microsoft Teams, but they have it for all of the different Microsoft applications as well. And this is really a platform that they used for, again, bug reporting, for feature requests, and again, just more general information about what's coming down the pipe. So you can go out here and you can actually, go out here and see what people have recommended for future iterations of Teams. Oh, somebody said,
Eric, are you sharing
my screen? I am sharing my screen, and unfortunately, it wasn't. It must have dropped. I'm sorry. Let me grab that real quick. There it goes. Let me know if you when you can see it better.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, good. So again, you can just go out there and Google user voice and then space product. So for us, it's user voice, Teams user voice. So we Googled that. We can go out here. How it works is you can just let me get my mouse back over here. So you can go out here and you can see all the different things that people have made suggestions on, things that they can make enhancements or feature requests. But the beauty of it is it's crowdsourced. So you can go out here, if you find something that you really like, you say, I want, I could say, I need information about the number of attendees in an anonymous meeting. I like that one. So I go out here and click vote. I click vote. All I have to do is put my email address in there. And then number one, it's going to vote that up. And again, if you get enough people to support it, I've seen Microsoft take action on these. But number two, because you've provided your email address, it will give you notification of when those things change status. So again, Microsoft actively works off their backlog out of this user voice platform. So if you go in there, you can actually make a suggestion, get enough people to vote it up. They will start working on it, and they'll tell you, hey, we're working on this. It's going to be released, second quarter or whatever. So again, nice little tip. If you have something that's like, this makes sense to me, I want to see if it makes sense to somebody else, you can go here and make that recommendation and hopefully get that implemented into the product. All right, let me get back over here to the window. So I think we've kind of gone through, we've talked about the current state. We've talked about kind of how people are working from home. It seems like this audience seems to be on the kind of the more of the leading edge as far as the ability to work from home, the natural transition of things. Just a real quick question for everybody on the phone. Outside of the technical piece of it, outside of the technical limitations or the technical capabilities that these tools provide you to work from home, what about the people side of things? What challenges are you guys experiencing from like the psychological effects, or just how people work together? Because again, this is a drastic change for people. We try to manage that change through our processes in a slower manner, but this is a big change very quickly. I mean, for everybody. So is anybody experiencing like challenges of, again, perfect question there. So ideas on keeping culture alive. That's a perfect example, Jamie. Trying to keep everybody connected and keep our culture. Yeah, keeping culture alive. That's a big thing. And again, Gadelna has a wonderful culture. And again, I think that it's natural. Like, how do we make sure that we feel connected with our coworkers? How do we keep that same level of connection? And again, I'll be honest. Both at Gadelna and my previous employers, I've worked from home anywhere up to 4 to 5 days a week sometimes, especially when I'm on client side or remote. And again, as you guys are seeing, if you haven't done this before, it can be very taxing on you from just your mind plays tricks on you. Your conversations are limited to email, so you read too much in the email. So there's a lot of things that are happening very quickly whenever you switch to a model like this. So I'd love to give you a couple quick tips on things that I've done and things that I've heard from other people that really help you keep that culture alive. So one of the things that I've done, when I was working on a big rollout for a large customer of Microsoft Office and Office 365, and when it was kind of team centric, we tried to figure out a way, because I worked with a very small team of people, let's say 6 people, and we started out working together in one room, like a big collaboration space, and we were very connected. We'd talk about anything from work related stuff to non-work related stuff to just, we all had shared interest. It was a great experience. But when we switched to a model where we were working from home, multiple days a week, if not the majority of the week, it was drastically different. I felt disconnected from people. I felt I wasn't quite sure where we stood on things. It felt very odd. So what I did was, in order to, number one, force us to use Teams a little bit more, and also to kind of create that togetherness, I created what was called Teams Friday. So what I did was I created a group chat, and I actually added everybody on our team to that group chat. And I said, this is where we talk to each other. We're going to pretend like we're in the room, and we're going to force ourselves to have conversations in here. And even if it's stupid, even if it's like, hey, did you guys catch the game the other night? Or hey, did you take a look at this? We're going to force ourselves to have those conversations there. No one-off conversations, because again, we want to feel connected. And I'll be honest, it made a huge difference. And people started looking forward to that every week. And we eventually just morphed into this was our room. This was our collaboration space that we just kind of hung out and chatted. Also kind of again, an organic thing that I've seen this week that's really interesting. I haven't participated in one yet, but again, as far as team dynamics and keeping people feeling, connected together, I've seen virtual happy hours popping up. So what happens is, there we go. Beth is hosting a virtual happy hour via Zoom. That's awesome. So again, what I've heard, I haven't tried one yet, is basically everybody gets on Teams or Zoom or the platform of choice and has their video on and pours themselves a drink and they're just chatting, how it goes. So Jessica says she did one yesterday evening. So Jessica, how did that go? What was that experience like? I'm curious to hear that. But again, very interesting concept, a way for people to still feel connected and going forward. I'll give you a third tip too that we do, and this is part of our guidance for when we roll out Teams to an organization, when we build out the architecture, is that we actually create a place for these organic, non-work related conversations to happen in a channel. And we typically call that channel something like water cooler chat or happy hour or something like that, where again, it's just a place for those type of conversations to happen, not necessarily work related, not necessarily productive per se, but it allows people to go in there, and sometimes it'll just be, funny cat pictures, or it'll be funny memes, or it'll be a joke. Somebody likes to post puns in ours a lot, so there's a lot of different ways you can utilize that. But again, those are the ways that we've found that can kind of build that community, especially in the time like this where we cannot see each other face to face. So those are some really good tips. If anybody has any other great tips, please post them in the chat. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because, again, it's really interesting how things evolve, but it does make a difference. Like seeing somebody's face, even if it's via a webcam, can make a huge difference just in your mood and just how you react to people. So great topic right there. Go ahead.
I'll add a couple, culture things here for us too. And there's lots of blogs out there that are suggesting a lot of these things. For us, changing the priority of using your camera. I think for us, so much of what we did was happening in the office, but we are also 2 offices across state lines, about 4 hours apart. And so we use video, I would say sparingly. Some people are really good about it and others were maybe a little less comfortable, but as we do team meetings and stuff where largely at least 70% of the audience was in the room before, now we're all 100% remote. We're encouraging and not quite forcing people yet, but encouraging people to use webcams and have that connection. We're also trying to not change what our standard practices are. So we do either weekly or biweekly one-on-ones from a leadership manager coaching perspective. So despite a huge influx of work and a lot of craziness around the outside environment, we're trying to keep the things that we have built our culture on that are important to us. We've tried to keep those even if we're transitioning them to virtual. So the piece for us is as much as we can hold together. Again, just changing and tweaking versus completely radically shifting what those culture pieces are. And frankly, I think one of the things that's actually the little silver lining is it's kind of fun to see our team in their home environment and have their kids interrupt them, and we're trying to embrace that. We've all got lives, we've all got things that are important to us and family and conflicting priorities, and especially given the environment right now, we're trying to embrace what exactly that is. Derek and I had a call this morning with a client where I was interrupted 3 or 4 times with kids that were doing their best to not be a bother, but were very much a bother, and I just had to smile about it. And it was a connect and an opportunity for a client to see us in our own and pets. Embrace that dog barking and laugh about it with your coworkers or your clients or whatever. I mean, we're all human, and kind of lean into it, I guess, if to put a point on that. Bill, you threw out a question. The laptop that you're using sometimes does not recognize your camera. Is that a known issue? Is that exclusive to Teams or on any app that you're using, I guess would be the broader question there.
And while we're getting an answer for that, I wanted to highlight one of the comments. I did turn my camera on because I wanted to show you something real quick. At least this for just Teams. So I will say that I have a external camera right now. I'm utilizing my camera built in my laptop. That's why the quality isn't that great. I do have an external Microsoft HD camera that unfortunately is a little bit clunky and it doesn't seem to work very well with Teams. I do know that Teams has a list of approved devices. I just haven't looked to see if it's on there. So that's one thing I would do is if you are gonna, for all those people that maybe are going to go out and invest in a camera now, I would take a look at kind of the recommendations around what works best with Teams and what will provide the best experience. But Bill, we can follow up with you afterwards and see if there's something we can help out with there. I did want to highlight one comment that Andrew had as well, is that again, we are, as part of the engagement committee here for GoodellNet, we're looking at ways that, again, we were looking at this before we even had this issue, but we're looking at ways to connect our two offices of employees together as we grow really, really fast. And Andrew made a really good comment that you could actually do a Netflix party mode that allows a lot of people to watch a show together. And we had talked about that in our engagement committee about having like a movie night or something where everybody kind of got together and hung out. Because again, maybe not everybody is a drinker. Maybe not everybody wants to go to do a happy hour, but maybe they want to do a movie night. So again, a great suggestion there, Andrew, and we look forward to trying to do that with us internally. But I did turn my camera on just real quick. I want to showcase a couple of things that are coming down the pipe for Microsoft Teams about specifically for this situation and working from home. So again, something that may not show up in your tenant just yet, but may show up probably not too far out, is we have the ability to turn on different effects to our webcam. So again, I don't know if anybody remembers last couple of years ago, there was a guy that was on a news program and he had his kid running around the background and his wife came and snagged him and pulled him out. But Microsoft took that as opportunity and said, hey, this is something that we could help fix. So real quick, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to apply this. So I just turned on the blur. So now you can see in my background, everything is kind of blurry. And that's, again, part of the functionality just right within Teams, within the meeting itself. I can actually throw myself on the beach real quick. So again, I wish I was here. Unfortunately, it's rainy outside and it's really gross, but this place looks really nice. You can actually, I mean, these are the ones that are built in, but you can actually add custom ones as well. So I could actually take a picture of my desk at work and look like I'm at my desk at work, but not be at work. So again, just want to kind of showcase a couple other things that are just kind of new tools that'll be coming down the pipe that are really kind of cool. For accommodating situations like this when we're working remotely. But we're about 3/4 the way through here. And one of the things I wanted to do before we left is I wanted to talk through, I've assembled a list of kind of like the best resources I found in the last week or two, again, to kind of support this rapid transition to working from home. So again, Brad, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to kind of touch base first, or we can actually roll into that and kind of talk through that as well.
No, I think go ahead and move forward.
Okay, so I'm going to talk through these links. We will send these out after the webinar, so make sure that you were registered on Constant Contact, and we'll get that set up for you. But yeah, I just want to kind of show some different things that we have available, different resources, and these are really good. I know there's a lot of stuff flying around, but let me make sure we get there we go. So I'll click through some of these and kind of show you what we're talking about. So first off, understand that these links are targeted for a wide range of audience. So again, some of these are going to be for the technical side. So again, if you're the IT director at your organization, we have a link in there that talks about how to quickly optimize your traffic for Office 365 for remote staff. We've got some really good links about, again, for you as a end user at home, how you can configure your Wi-Fi to help out with that. There's also a great technical community where it has conversations around enabling remote work. So again, it's more of a dialogue. You can go back and forth and you can continue this conversation that we're having today if you like. And again, just some quick tips. So we have a lot of different things, but the first one I want to highlight is this one right here that's at the top. So again, a lot of people probably saw this, maybe you didn't. But Microsoft, at the very front end of this, and we're talking the very front end before anybody was really freaking out, is again, Microsoft, this is back on March 5th, Microsoft made a commitment and said, hey, for people that are going to have to quickly pivot to working from home, we want to make sure that we can best support you. So they actually have a program in place right now that you can utilize the full-blown Teams client for free, depending on your license level. And there's a couple different things. So again, if you have any questions about trying to get in on that program or utilizing that, feel free to reach out to us after the webinar. We can talk to you about that. But it seems to be about a 6-month program. And again, depending on different licensing, but it will get you an entitlement to be able to utilize Teams in a rapid fashion. So one cool thing that Microsoft has done there. The next thing, again, we talk about quick tips for enabling remote work. So let's see, this is actually a Microsoft Sway presentation. Let me bring that up over here. So again, this is very, it's kind of a more of a wide range. This is more technically focused, but again, it talks about, again, step by step, how do we, what devices do we have, kind of a step-by-step guide on how to go through and assess your current state, and then how you can kind of move forward with it and do some other things within the remote workspace. All these things are really great. Again, I'm not going to go through every single one, but one of the other ones I wanted to showcase down here is a good friend of mine, Joel Olson, big in the SharePoint community, has created some crisis management templates. So I'm going to open that one up and bring it over here as well. So again, different applications and templates based upon Office 365, mainly using the Power Platform. The Power Platform is a suite of applications in Office 365, Power Apps, Power BI, and Power Automate that allows you to kind of build low-code, light-code applications and do some really cool stuff. So utilizing that platform, he's really gone through and kind of built out some different templates that you can use. So I'm going to include that link in the follow-up as well. But yeah, all this stuff will come after the webinar. We'll get that sent out to everybody. I just want to kind of showcase some of the stuff that we'll provide to you to hopefully kind of push you forward. And obviously, if you have any issues in this space, if you want to start talking more about how you guys can utilize Teams, or if you've gotten started with Teams and you've struggled on adoption or you've struggled on how to utilize it, please hit us up. We'd love to help you out and talk through what that can look like for kind of get you guys into a more of a modern workplace environment.
Derek, I'm going to throw one other thing on here is these technologies are really, really great. And as Derek alluded to, for us, Teams really hit its prime, probably somewhere between 6 and 12 months ago, where we really started investing heavily, both in our instance as well as rolling out to clients. But I'd be remiss if I also didn't note that technology is just technology, right? And so as Derek hit on very early on, a lot of these platforms, Zoom and GoToMeeting included, are seeing scaling challenges like
Yeah, I think that was, if everybody can still hear me, I think that was extremely ironically timed drop off from Brad for the meeting. Brad, are you back? Or maybe it's, all right, can everybody hear, this is Derek, can everybody hear Derek?
We can, yes.
Okay, great.
Hi, Derek.
There he is, perfect demonstration.
Oh my goodness. I cannot believe that happened. As I was going to say, have a contingency plan for how your at least your executive team, your managers, that for us, Microsoft is providing all of these tools, but for us, it is a common thread of how we operate. So we have a staff listing with everybody's personal cell phones, that if we had to revert back to those communications, that all of that stuff is documented and readily available in a platform that is not a Microsoft platform. And we also, I'm fearful of even saying this with some of our team, but we also have a Slack instance stood up that at this point is just our executive team. But if Microsoft runs into significant global issues or any of the other tools that we utilize, we have plans in place for how we would carry on communications during those potential outages. So not expecting any of that. Microsoft and all of these platforms are making tiny adjustments to scale their platforms to deal with demand, but just make sure that you have something to fall back on if you need it, and that you know how to reach out to people and what that contingency planning looks like if you were to have to utilize it. Is there any other questions that people came expecting to get answered, or even if we have to follow up after our time today? Shannon noticed Zoom serious audio issues when we've chosen not to use their own bridge. I'm not familiar necessarily with that overall, so I can't speak intelligently about that. Derek or anybody else that's on the call want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm not super sure on Zoom as well. So
right,
real quick,
well,
as we wrap up, again, I just want to kind of close that loop real quick. So again, if you have any questions, again, after this webinar, and if you're an existing client, please reach out to your account manager. If you're not an existing client, please don't hesitate to reach out. You feel free to reach us through sales@goodellnet.com, and we'll have somebody follow up with you. But again, just want to make sure that we support both our clients and just the communities at large that we work in and that we live in. I know this is a really challenging time. It's so bizarre. It's just so bizarre when I look back at my photo feed, or just like my calendar from a couple of weeks ago, which consisted of moving from hockey practice to volleyball practice to all these different things, and now everything's gone, and it's just like it's so bizarre. And again, I know there's a lot of challenges that people are facing, both on a personal and a professional level right now. And we just want to be able to help out our customers navigate through this. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, sales@goodellnet.com, or you can reach out to me, Derek Watson, Derek.Watson@goodellnet.com, or Brad.Housen@goodellnet.com. We would love to answer your questions. We do have a transcript of the chat there too, so we'll make sure we go through there, and if there wasn't something that addressed or something, we'll follow up with those individuals as well.
Thanks for joining today and being participative in this, and let us know how we can help you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.